Not happening in the courts, as we know, on Capitol Hill will attack the Supreme Court. The majority, conservative majority, striking down a century-old New York gun law, setting limits on who could obtain a concealed carry gun permit. And we'll decipher it all. That's where I bring in my friend Andrew Lieb. Lieb Law, of course, does a great job. Nobody better in constitutional-type law cases than Mr. Lieb. Always a welcomed addition, and good to have you twice in the same week, I might add, sir.
Oh, it's great to be back again, Jay. What a big week. And actually, yesterday was a big day. We had both the Supreme Court decision by Justice Thomas on his birthday, may I add, he wrote it, and then the Senate passed the gun bill. So yesterday was the day of the gun.
Man, I'll tell you, what can come through today, maybe Roe v. Wade, we'll see. But, you're talking about a law that has been in place somewhere in the area of around 1913. And a lot of people want to know, why after 100-plus years, this kind of being deciphered at this point by this court, Andrew?
It's a great question. You're talking about what's called the Sullivan Act, and the law used to say that you needed a particularized risk of safety. They used legal mumbo-jumbo, but it meant you needed a particularized risk of safety to yourself to get a handgun to be able to walk around and have concealed carry. And what happened back in 2010 is a case called Heller, and that went before the Supreme Court. And it was a similar situation in Washington, D.C., to see if you could have a gun in the house. And in that case, they said that you have a private right to have a gun. And what this case today does, or yesterday from Justice Thomas, is says we're going to expand Heller and let you have a gun anywhere outside the home. So what we're learning now is that instead of you having the burden to be able to say, I have a particular risk of safety, the government shall issue a gun to you if you request it, just like 43 states that already had rules like that on the books. So there's 7 states that now are going to have to adopt their laws to adhere to what this new case that came out yesterday says.
Because the 3 liberal justices, in a dissent opinion, it was written by the retiring one, Stephen Breyer, said the ruling ignores the significant dangers, kind of paraphrasing a little, of gun violence and leaves the states really without the ability to address some of the main issues there. Interesting as far as Breyer on his way out and throws something like this in.
Well, it's interesting for another factor, too. It's a fight about how to interpret the Constitution. I was on another fellow's show earlier this morning, and he said to me, how, if you love the Constitution, can you not love this decision? And I said back to him, and I want everyone to understand this, there's no justice of the Supreme Court that doesn't love the Constitution. You wouldn't be on the Supreme Court, no matter how liberal you are or how conservative you are, if you didn't dedicate your life to the Constitution. What you're talking about is about constitutional interpretation. And this case, the distinction between Thomas and Breyer on this was the distinction between originalism and the Constitution being a living doctrine. So what's most interesting about the Thomas decision, I'm going to go on that part, is they actually changed our understanding of gun rules and constitutional interpretation. We used to think that if the government had a significant policy to advance, that they could say, hey, you know what, this is a factor that matters in adhering to understanding the Constitution. Is there a reason to do this, like safety? And what Justice Thomas said in the opinion is that we only can look to the text of the Constitution and history, just history, to ascertain what the rules are. And he gave 3 examples from history of ways sensitive places can be restricting guns. One is the assembly, like Congress. One is polling places. And you know what? He said, if you can't analogize from these places to a modern-day thing, you can't restrict guns whatsoever because originalism, interpretation of the Constitution, is what won the day.
With us, trying to decipher exactly yesterday from the Supreme Court. We're going to get to the Senate vote from last night as well. You know, I look at this in a couple of different ways, and I find it somewhat disingenuous. And I told the Sarge, Joe Jacklin, with a crime report on prior to you coming in, you listen to this New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's crying out now against this ruling. You look at from the governor's standpoint, he called it reprehensible. And I can't figure out the fact that, when I say disingenuous, and the fact that, we have these soft laws in place, not allowing a judge to make a full decision, all kinds of stuff regarding disclosure and discovery that need to be reversed. I've gone into that a million times. Keeping dangerous people off the streets, which we can't even use the word dangerous in pieces of legislation. I mean, it still comes down to the fact that the individual itself, who shouldn't be handling a gun and maybe shouldn't be out on the street, kind of a common sense situation that we don't have any common sense anymore. I look at 2 cops that were murdered last week on an individual who has a rap sheet as long as Long Island is concerned, and a gun violation that would have kept him in jail another 3 years, except out on the street to murder 2 cops. We can't figure out the crux of the problem. And to me, the problem is how the states deal with these laws and their legislatures. Because to me, there's a lot of common sense that's not being utilized here, Andrew.
I think you said it. I think that's why you got 15 Republicans. Was it 15 that joined in the Senate? Mitch McConnell voted. Mitch McConnell voted because they want to enhance what's called that boyfriend law, and said, and I think this is exactly what you're saying, there was a rule that said, hey, if you did domestic violence and you had a relationship, but it had to be a legal relationship, like a marriage, you couldn't get a gun. And the Senate's new bill says, hey, if you're violent and you have an ongoing relationship, even if you're a boyfriend and you have a kid with that person, let's not let you have a gun for at least 5 years. So there are common sense things that you're saying that can be practical, but I do need to point out, I have to tell you, that you could be stupid, not you, obviously, but you could be stupid if you're the mayor on one point and be right on another point, meaning that I think we're also tied into saying this is right and this is wrong, but I think guns are a multifaceted approach, meaning that we all don't know exactly why something happens. Besides, we need to keep putting tiers of things out there to protect. And I'll give you an example. I was on a Russian TV show last night, and they made a big deal about what type of education should you have to get a gun. I thought that was an interesting idea. They said, how many hours should the training course be before you get the gun? Not that you can't have the gun, but you need a training to use the gun. I thought that was interesting. There's so many different facets. It's not that people shouldn't be able to have a Second Amendment right. It's what should we do to have precautions, whether it's red flag laws, the boyfriend loophole, whether it's training or enhancing what's a sensitive place. I will tell you that Justice Thomas said just because New York City's crowded doesn't make it a sensitive place. Cities alone by themselves, just being a city, isn't a sensitive place. But I'd like to understand, is a subway a sensitive place? I'd like to understand, is a museum a sensitive place? What about a school? I want to understand the future, because instead of us fighting back and forth, you did this and you should have done this, we should all come up with solutions, because this gun violence is no good.
Off the charts, but the thing I would ask Mayor Adams is, listen, you're decrying everything as far as the ruling. Well, what about your own stance regarding clean slate and expunging records? I mean, are you okay with some guy driving a school bus who might have 6 DUIs in play from the past, and all of a sudden now he's going to be driving around kids? That's okay, though, to not figure out exactly what happened in his past? I would ask him that. I would ask him about raising the age as well. I mean, we are just completely off kilter, I think, with some of the more common sense type solutions that need to be in play here, but we just don't do it anymore.
I need to echo what you just said, because you said I'd ask him this and I'd ask him that as well, and that's what we're missing from our politics today. You can ask more than one question, and that was so smart. I have to tell you, I miss Mayor Bloomberg like I've never said. When you go to New York City, it's not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be. But we need to have people like you, Jay, and everyone out there needs to be saying, I don't need to just ask the question that advances one issue. I need to ask all the questions. As I said last time I was on your show, I think we should just go with, I'm a fan of living. How do we make that one happen?
Exactly. We got to figure it out. And I'll tell you, the same thing with the Senate last night, Andrew, regarding the approval of the bipartisan gun violence bill. I mean, you think about it. A month ago, you couldn't even fathom this was going to be in play. The House will get it; they'll sign off on it. But it's really the same. I mean, listen, the components of this are all well and good, right? You want a tougher background check for young gun buyers 18 to 21. I don't have a problem with that. You want to keep firearms from the more domestic violence offenders and help states put in place red flag laws. It'll make it easy for authorities to take the weapons from people who judge dangerous. Great. It would also fund programs. I'm all for that. School safety, mental health especially, my goodness. Violence prevention. But again, we leave out the same type of deal as what the Supreme Court here regarding the states and how they handle these criminals who are allowed back on the streets. It still comes down to dangerous individuals that are, for somehow, we can't figure that out and incarcerate. Same deal. This is all well and good. I'm all for it. But the crux of the problem is still not being attacked.
Yeah, I agree. But I think there's a more important thing, and I hate to go away from guns. But how do you get Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell to agree on something so politically heated? And that alone gives me so much hope that we can see some movement in our Senate, maybe some movement where we can have these people meeting together. I don't know if you saw, but they told Biden, stay away, we can do this. And you had this group of senators, and not just the 10 that said they were going to go forward, 5 added on. Mitch McConnell signaled, and I think that's just so important that we're seeing some movement. But I have actually, and I hate to do this to you, Jay, but I don't think we're talking about the most important court decision of the day. And I'm that's what happened to me. Can you believe that Aaron Judge, before he has his arbitration hearing for the Yankees to get $21 million instead of $17, does a walk-off home run? I just think that New Yorkers, that's what they really care about.
It's true. Hey, you know what? If you're Cashman and Steinbrenner, before this hearing takes place, first off, you give him the 21. Actually, you know what? You not only give him the 21, but you give him a contract to be delivered to him today, okay? And you give him the 7 years, a team option for an 8th year, and you give him the $340 million, and make him one of the highest paid guys in the league. I mean, come on, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And not only that, you know what? Give him a jersey there. Give him 99 with the C on it.
Exactly.
Make him the captain. He's the face of baseball already. And he's the face of the team. You know what? Just make him the captain. So it's not even a question regarding last year. Forget it's good. And by the way, a lot of people want to know why today. Well, because of all the lockout and everything delayed the process. But the fact of the matter is, the guy deserves the top number there. So I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. I think a lot of people are watching that, especially after his walk-off hit. Yes, what a win that was, man, I'll tell you. But what do we expect anything? Listen, they want to get a lot of stuff in, before June ends, which is Thursday. Are we going to expect anything today, you think, regarding abortion?
I don't know if we're going to get it today, but we're having decisions today. They added Friday as a day. They changed Wednesday to Thursday this week. We could get it on Monday as well. Monday is a decision day. I would think it would probably be rough to have 3 major things happen in 2 days between having this judge thing we talked about, which I think everyone really cares about, the gun decision and abortion. A gun decision and abortion back-to-back, that's politically really a challenge. And I think Justice Roberts is really conscious about separating the court from politics, and he's the chief judge. So if I was gambling, I would guess it's going to be Monday, not today, but nothing they do ever surprises me. And there are going to be decisions today. So if anyone wants to see decisions, I'm going to give them 2 suggestions. The first one is that you could just go to the Supreme Court's website, and they release opinions starting at 10 o'clock every 10 minutes. On the left is a number. Once they number it, they call that an R number. That means there's no more decisions for the day. Another choice, which I think is even better, you just tune into Jay Oliver next week and you know all about these decisions. Like, come on now.
Well, that's true. That's true. But, I mean, listen, I know that before I came on the air today, I mean, there are a lot of agencies reporting high alert as far as if anything comes down from the courts regarding Roe v. Wade, there's going to be some trouble. So a lot of these cities are now reporting, they're on high alert, enforcement and everything else. So, another situation as far as kind of being on the watch today, as we end the week here, especially before July 4th. So we'll see what comes down. Good stuff. Good conversation. We will be watching it all today from the high court. And you have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
You too. I'm going to get myself an Aaron Judge 99 captain jersey just from your suggestion. And let's see what happens with the Supreme Court. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Andrew Lieb, Lieb Law, ladies and gentlemen.